Good afternoon, and welcome back to another video. Okay, this one I'm going to show you guys how to make the screwdriver case here in Activity 1.3.4. And the important thing to know about this one is that it does not give us any dimensions to do it. This is, if you look here, this is roughly how big it is. So, about maybe 2 inches across the pentagon. So that's kind of what we're going to go off of to model everything else. All right. So the important thing though is that you're just making good decisions. I'm not going to put in any strict dimensions, but just try to follow the proportions that are on here. So once you get signed in, you can go ahead and work in the document. It's going to be in the same document as Activity 1.3.4, Part 1, which we did this thing. And I'm just going to make another Part Studio and show you how to make this. Here we are. So the first thing I'm going to do is just make sure that I'm in inches. All right, good. I'm going to start a sketch on the top plane. Rotate it towards me. And we're going to start by making a polygon at the center, the origin, that's going to just help us line everything up. So to do that, I click, I drag out, I click again. At this point, I can make my hexagon, a pentagon, and hit 5. And I really don't care about this dimension. I'll keep it as 3. It's large enough to see what's going on. And I want to rotate this, but right now I can't. I want it to sort of line up so that this point is vertical to the origin. So to do that, I need to do this. I have to get rid of this constraint, and then I can rotate this like such. Okay, so this will help you line everything else up if your pentagon's facing like this. The first thing that it tells us to do, and sorry, my nose is a little stuffy, is to extrude the pentagon with a taper angle of 45 degrees. So to do that, we'll hit extrude like normal, and make sure, so mine keeps defaulting to thin, but make sure it's on solid. Click on that, and then we don't have an option called, what do they say? Taper angle or whatever. So we're going to hit draft. Draft makes that angle. And instead of 3 degrees, I'm going to type in 45. And right now, when I look at my shape, I can see that it's drafting outward, but I want it to draft inward as it goes up. So I'm going to click this arrow and turn it to the opposite direction. Now I just have to make this extrusion a little bit shorter. So I just click and drag that arrow downward until I get something that looks approximately like that. So I don't know, about 0.25 inches. That looks pretty good to me. Now it's going to tell me to create another inward tapered extrusion from the top surface of the first one, and we have to estimate that taper angle. So if you hit extrude again, you can actually you don't have to make a new sketch. You can just select that pentagon, make it go up, hit draft, make sure it's going inward. And this one, I don't know, we can experiment. I think maybe 10 degrees is probably too much. Let's maybe make it 5. That looks decent. Yeah, let's go with 5. And let's just make the depth an even 2. And we get something that looks like this. Next, it's going to tell us to do a loft. And a loft is a way to connect 2 sketches that are on different sketch planes. So, in fact, the first thing that we're going to have to do is create a new plane that is offset from here. And to do that, I select the plane tool, which is up here on the toolbar. And if you ever can't find it, remember, you can always search. And I found plane that way, and it highlights it. So I'll click on plane. It defaults to offset, and it wants to know what entity do you want to offset that from? Well, I want to offset it from here. And the offset distance should approximately match what they have here. And I think in class we made that 0.75. Maybe even 0.5 would be more appropriate. Let's go with 0.5. Again, the dimensions don't matter, a whole lot as long as it looks approximately like we want it to. So once I have that offset plane, I can hit check. And on that plane, it sort of tells us to, it tells you to project, I think, project the pentagonal top surface of the existing model onto the new sketch. We don't really have to do that. If we start a new sketch on plane 1, make sure that your sketch plane says plane 1. We can just make the circle that we're interested in at the center. And the only thing is here, we just have to note that the circle, there's just a little bit of space between the edge of the pentagon and the circumference of the circle. So in order to do that, we could drag it out to, I don't know, about here. Okay, so I'll make that a nice even 2. All right, and I can hit check once I have that circle. So now I have this circle that's kind of floating above here, and what I want to do at this point is hit loft, and that's right here. Okay, and what loft does is I can select 2 profiles in order from start to finish. So I want to start here at this pentagon, and then I want to finish here at this circle. And when I do that, I get something that looks like this. And so basically it takes that pentagon and it connects it to the circle, so I get this kind of interesting surface geometry that's going on here. And that looks, let's check our work compared to theirs. That looks, approximately like theirs does. It's not perfect, but it'll be good for this. And then what they want us to do is then extrude this cylinder upward to create this. Okay, and I believe they have this edit as a taper. So we're going to taper that. We're going to draft. We're going to keep the taper angle at 3, but just make sure you're putting it in the opposite direction. And I think in class we made this 0.75. I think. And that looks good. I mean, that looks pretty similar to this, right? The only thing is we have to fillet the top edge of this. So we're going to select our fillet tool. And I'll select the edge of that circle, and when I do one edge, it's actually going to select all of them. And we'll make the radius, it's kind of a gentle round. Maybe we'll make this 0.05 and hit check. And so that's what it, excuse me, that's where we should kind of be at with this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to create the holes in the top here. And now I'm just going to skip some directions. It tells you to do some stuff and then delete it and go back. But we're just going to make the, we're going to skip right down to this part here. And I'm going to make the holes at the top. So I have one large hole and then 5 smaller ones around it. And when I go to do that, I'll sketch on this top surface here. And I'll make a center point circle in the center of it. And I think in class I made this 0.75. That seems a little bit large. Let's make this, don't make it 0.75. Make it 0.625. Yeah. And then what we can do is above that, directly above it so that I get this vertical constraint, we'll make another circle that is half as large as the one that I just made. So half of 62.5 is 30, what is that? 31.25. So anyway, in here we'll make this 0.3125, right? Because if I double that, I'd get 0.625. Okay. So, it's about half as large as this. And then I will use my pattern tool. I'll use my circular pattern tool. And I will select the entity that I want to pattern. And it defaults to 3, but I want to make that a 5. And then I can hit check, and I'm done with that sketch. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to extrude and remove and draft. And this time it tells me an angle. It says 2 degrees. And I'll start with my center circle. And I'll make that go about 2.5 inches. And I will hit check. And if you notice now, my last sketch is hidden. That likely happened to you as well, because Onshape thinks that I'm done with this sketch now. If you just if you hover over sketch 3 and click the eye, well, it makes it appear again. And I will now extrude and remove and draft and 2 degrees, right? And I do have to turn this the opposite direction. I don't think I did that with my last one. I definitely did not, so I'll go back and fix that in a minute. And I will select these 5 circles. If you accidentally click outside of the circles and something like this happens, just click the interstitial space between 2 circles and it'll deselect that. And then hit check. And I have my my drafted. Oh, except you know what? I do want to make this 1.25 about half as deep as the center one. And then quickly, I'm just going to go back to this one. You can see, look, if I highlight over it, you actually see it get wider at the base. I want it to get thinner at the base, so I have to hit opposite direction on that draft. Sorry, I missed that. And then hit check. And so now inside of this, I have these. Okay. So what it wants us to do now is create. I actually skipped this step back up here, but we need to create this like little. Here, let me zoom in here. This little like ledge region, and to do that, I'm gonna face the bottom of this, and I'm gonna hit extrude, and I'm gonna hit thin, and I'm gonna select this. And if your default selection is going to make it go outward, but if I hit this arrow that says flip wall, it'll go inward. And I have to kind of estimate the thickness of that wall. And I think in class we made this 0.1. And the depth of it is, I think, also 0.1 from what we saw in class. And that looks approximate to that. So thickness is 0.1, depth is 0.1. Make sure that you flip the wall inward so you get sort of like this, sort of this retaining wall. So it should look, something like this. And then the final thing that we need to do here is shell it so that it's hollow on the inside. And to do that, I will select my shell feature. I'll keep the shell thickness at 0.1, and I will click on this face, and it will actually remove that face, and that's what I have inside. And then hit check, and that's what I've got. So kind of neat, Obviously, if I zoom in here, I can see where some of these circles interfere with each other, so we could have been a little bit more precise with our measurements, but for the purposes of this activity, it's really just to get you used to a couple of new tools, okay? So anyway, hope that this helped clear up some confusion for activity 1.3.4. And at this point, once you have this item and this item, and if you don't have this, you have to go back and watch my other video. Once you have both those, you can go to share, link sharing, make sure you turn on link sharing, copy it to your clipboard, and paste it to that assignment page, and you'll be all right. Okay? But hope this helped. I'll see you guys in class.